nearly a week since I've done a live, and we're now in Genesis 16. I'm just got back from a Christian retreat, 3 days in North Yorkshire with a bunch of Christians, some well known as well on the old internet. So anyway, we're going to continue with Genesis. We're going to do Genesis 16 today, and we're going to do it in exegesis, more of an exegesis. Exegesis is a Greek word. It means like how could you put it? Like a critical explanation or an interpretation of the text. It's a Greek word, exegesis. And that's what we're going to do anyway. So here we go. So Genesis 16, we'll go through some key points. So Genesis 16 is a pivotal chapter in the story of Abraham and Sarah. Well, later they were called Abraham and Sarah, weren't they? Outlining their flawed human attempt to fulfill God's promise of a son. The narrative shows the immediate negative consequences of impatience, but also highlights God's unwavering compassion, even for the marginalized. So the key events and plot points, if you like. So Sarah's plan for an heir. She needed a heir because remember she was barren. I mean, we don't really use that word anymore. You wouldn't really use it in polite conversation anyway. But she's barren. That means that she can't have children. She can't. It's not happening. And she's waiting a long time, and that's in Genesis 1 verses 1 to 4. After waiting 10 years in Canaan, she remains barren. She loses hope in God's timing, and she proposes a culturally legal but ethnically flawed plan to her husband Abraham, that he should have a child with her servant Hagar, and this child, by custom, the child would belong actually to Sarah and not to Hagar. That's why it wasn't. It was legal, but it's not ethically right. It's not, again, God didn't want them to do this. By the way, remember, God didn't tell them to do this. So you've got to remember that, yeah. So when people, those you Richard Christians out there, when people say, "Oh, what about when this happens? Oh, is that good?" So no, it's not good. They're going against what God said, yeah. So think of this as like it's a history book. It's a newspaper report of what happened. Think of it like that. In her newfound status, Hagar grows to despise Sarah, and the family is thrown into turmoil, because that's right, isn't it? Like Hagar, she starts to treat Sarah with a hiya, Ezer, hiya, Sophie Jones. How's it going? God bless you. The Lord be with you today. May the Lord strengthen you and be with you and give you what you need. Give you what you need, not what you want. Two very different things. So yes, God bless the pair of you, Sophia and Ezer. I hope you're having a good one. So the angel of the Lord finds Hagar near a spring, instructs her to return and submit to Sarah, and promise her countless descendants. Of course, Poyers. Who's an albino? I'm not an albino. I am very white, though. I'm as white as a soccer ball. I hope you're okay. I hope you're having a blessed day. The Lord bless you. The Lord give you strength. I'm having a great day today. Considering it's Monday, it's always hard work on a Monday, isn't it? Going to work after a great weekend. So yeah, the Lord bless you all. An angel of the Lord finds Hagar near a spring, instructs her to return and submit to Sarah and promise her countless descendants. And the angel tells Hagar to name her son Ishmael. Now, the word Ishmael in Hebrew means God hears. Okay? So Ishmael means God hears in Hebrew, because the Lord heard her misery. Yes. The angel obviously moves on from there. Yeah, and then Hagar names the Lord El Roi, meaning the God who sees me. And the spring is named Beer Roi. Okay, so Ishmael's birth is we're still in 16. We're only talking about 16, and that's verses 15 to 16. So Hagar returns, and then she gives birth to the son named Ishmael. And when this happens, Abraham is 86 years old. So the key themes to this is about human impatience and its consequences. We all know about our impatience, don't we? How many times has our own impatience got us in trouble? Yeah. Our haste, whether it be we're saying hasty things or not, yeah, that maybe we could look back in and say, oh, you know what, maybe I needed to take a couple of seconds here to have a think about what I was saying. Yeah. So haste and consequences. And then obviously God's faithfulness despite human failure. So, because you can imagine God's looking down at this point going, oh my God, what's going on? What are these lot doing here? But he's still faithful to them, and he's promised to Abraham. So he shows Hagar compassion as well. So God sees and hears the oppressed, Hagar's encounter with God. And then obviously she understands that, oh yeah, God can see my vulnerability, because she was very vulnerable, wasn't she, at that point? He looked after her, basically. And then it's the beginning of discord. So Ishmael's birth creates hostility between the descendants of Isaac. So that's where you get that. That's where. Thank you, Noah Melling, by the way. The Lord bless you. The Lord be with you and strengthen you. Yep. Thank you for subscribing. Oh yes, like and subscribe, everyone. The Lord bless you. Yeah. So yeah, this is a very key moment in history with regards to where the two religions split. So like Christianity went one way, and then Islam went the other way, because it's all to do with Ishmael. So for those of you that don't know, that's where it went. So Ishmael's birth created hostility between the descendant of Isaac, foreshadowing the prophecy that Ishmael would be, it says in the Bible, a wild donkey of a man, and that his hand shall be against everyone. Okay. Bum, bum, bum. Then we're going to move over to a detailed meaning. So Genesis 16, it's a pivotal chapter. And it's detailing the birth of Ishmael and consequences of the impatience with God's timing as well. And the narrative illustrates what happens when human plans intervene. It's that thing where we're trying to, who's that, Man United? Oh, yeah. I'm an Albion fan myself, but, the football royalty, there we go. So God bless you. I hope the Manchester United are doing well, brother, and that they're going to come back fighting soon. Remember, class always rises to the top. Yeah, the cream always rises to the top. You're in one of those little troughs at the moment. It's just unfortunate that Liverpool are doing so well, isn't it? Yeah, but now you do well. You do. You'll come back again. You just need to steady the ship. I speak to a lot of. I'm going off topic here. We're meant to be talking about God, and we're talking about football. But I speak to a lot of Man United fans, and I ask them, I say, "What's going on, lads? What's going wrong?" And they always say to the owner, they say, "Oh, we need to sell it, or this needs to happen." But that's what they say anyway. So keep believing, keep praying, pray to God, and for what you need and not what you want. And who knows? Maybe you'll be champion leagues again. Yeah. Winner of the Champion League. So the key themes include human faithfulness, God's providence and compassion, and the origin of the rivalry between the descendants of Isaac and Ishmael. So remember those descendants where everything just shoots off. One goes one way, one goes the other, and which is what we've got now, isn't it? Because if you speak to a Muslim and talk obviously about the time of Moses going forward, of Abraham. That's why they call it an Abrahamic religion. They say that it's from the line of Isaac, and obviously we say that we're they're Ishmael, we're Isaac. There we go. So the context of the failure of faith, a promise deferred. God had promised Abraham that he would have many descendants. But after 10 years in Canaan, his wife, Sarah, she remained barren, didn't she? But they had to trust in the Lord, and this is where they tried to build that plane whilst they're flying it. Yeah, they forgot. This is where they forgot. So Sarah's solution, wary of waiting, concluded that God had prevented her from having children. So she's blaming God here, yeah, and proposed a culturally accepted solution. So it's culturally acceptable, but ethically, it just isn't going to work. And Abram would have a child with her Egyptian maidservant Hagar. So according to the custom, the child now would legally belong to Sarah. And then, of course, Abraham. He was compliant in all this because it takes two to tango, isn't it? So in a moment of weak faith, so he's dropped the ball on this one. He's heeded his wife's voice. Shouldn't have listened to his wife, basically. Okay, instead of trusting in God to fulfill the promise, which God always said, "Look, I'm going to look after you. Don't worry about it." Yeah, and they just got a little bit impatient there. So the conflict of pride and mistreatment. We all know. We all know about. There's a fist bump, mate. There we go. There you go. So the Hagar's arrogance, basically. So once Hagar had conceived, her status was elevated, and she began to despise and look down on Sarah because she was still childless, and then Sarah responded to that by being cruel as well. She was being cruel to Hagar. Wounded by Hagar's contempt, Sarah grew angry and blamed Abraham for the situation. And Abraham gave Sarah authority to do as she pleased as well. So then Abraham has kind of washed his hands on this thing and said, "Look, you do whatever you do what you want." Yeah. So Abraham gave Sarah the authority to do as she pleased with her, and then Sarah then dealt harshly with Hagar, driving her to flee into the wilderness. There we go. And then, of course, the encounter happens. This is God's mercy and prophecy. The angel of the Lord, an angel often seen by theologians as a pre-incarnate appearance of Jesus, found Hagar alone and desperate by a spring of water. And there was like a compassionate inquiry happened now, and the angel asked Hagar where she came from and where she was going, promoting her to reflect on her circumstances and flight. And Hagar replied that she was fleeing from her mistress. And a mixed command and promise happened then, didn't it? So the angel commanded Hagar to return and submit to Sarah and forgive the twofold promise. So that's a big thing to ask someone there, isn't it? Yeah. So it's a big thing to ask there. Hiya, Joseph. Hope things are well with you. And hope things with you. The Lord bless you this day, Joseph. The Lord bless you with the day. I hope that He gives you wisdom, gives you what you need and not what you want. And the Lord bless you, you and your family. Amen. So yeah, there's like a mixed command and promise, and the angel commanded Hagar to return and submit to Sarah, and gave her a twofold promise. The numerous descendants. These are the twofold promises. So numerous descendants. Offspring would be too numerous to count, and obviously Ishmael was going to become a wild donkey of a man, and his hand was going to be against everyone because of obviously of what he did. Mm-hmm. So the resolution that Ishmael is born. So the return and birth, Hagar obeys the angel. She returns to the camp and gives birth to the son. Ishmael's naming as instructed by the angel. Abraham named the boy Ishmael, which means God hears. So these little things, folks, are really good to just to who knows? You might win a pub quiz one day if someone turns around and says, "What does Ishmael mean in Hebrew?" And you'll go, "I know what that means. It means God hears." And people will be like, "How do you know that? How do you know Hebrew?" But there you go. Anyway, it might come in handy. Who knows? Impress your friends knowing Hebrew. Okay, so Abram was 86 years old at the time. So here's the theological takeaways that you can take from this. Yeah. So God's plan versus human effort. So of course, we're constantly trying to make up the rules ourselves and think to do things ourselves. It never works, does it? You've only got to look at modern society. We just make one mistake, and then we think we fix one mistake, but then we create 5 others. We're always doing this, and I think it's probably fair to say that we all do that in general, doesn't it? Yeah. So Abraham and Sarah's impatience lead to years of family strife and legacy of conflict for their descendants. How about that? So Abraham and Sarah's impatience lead to years of family strife and legal and conflict of their descendants. And God's compassion for the outcast. So God's care for Hagar, a marginalized and abused beyond Abraham's chosen family. And then the origin of conflict. The prophetic description of Ishmael as a wild donkey foreshadows a long history of conflict between the Arabs and descendants of Ishmael and the Israelites, the descendants of Isaac, of what we got today. So we can see that today, haven't we? The problems we've got in the Middle East with the Arab nations and the Israelites. So you can kind of see where all this where this is going, where it's coming from. Well, this is the root cause, isn't it? Yeah. So the allegory of covenants, the apostles, Paul later used the story of Hagar. Galatians chapter 4 as well. I can't remember which verse, but that's in chapter 4, in chapter 4 somewhere. Here we go. Bum, 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 bum. So we're going to do a little bit of an exegesis. An exegesis is as I've said before, an exegesis is the Greek word for a critical explanation or an interpretation of the text. Exegesis, here we go. So, just bear with me. I wrote all this out. Okay. So, verse 1. Sarah, Abraham's wife, was unable to bear children. And the text introduces Egyptian maidservant Hagar. It's possible that Hagar was one of the slaves, because we're not actually sure about that, but she wasn't a concubine. But yeah, so we can only assume that she was one of the slaves that Abram had acquired during his stay in Egypt, because remember, they were in Egypt. And Sarah's infertility caused her great pain, as it was considered a social stigma at the time, wasn't it? A social stigma. Because it wasn't those things were a lot different then, you know. People people would have thought all sorts of strange things, wouldn't they? They would have thought all sorts of strange things. So verse 2, Sarah, believing God had preventing her from having children, proposed that Abram have a child with Hagar on her behalf. This practice of using a surrogate was a recognized custom in the ancient Near East, intended to secure an heir for a childless couple. However, it demonstrated a lack of faith in God's timing and method for his fulfilling his promise. So that's effectively what verse 2 is about. Verse 3, Abraham agrees to the plan. So he agrees to this, and he listens to his wife, and he agrees to this. It's a crazy idea. He's probably had enough as well of the nagging. And after he had lived in Canaan for 10 years, Sarah formally gives Hagar to Abram as his wife, and the patience to help God ultimately create problems for the family. And Abram has sexual relations with Hagar, and she conceives. And once pregnant, Hagar's status, that changes, and she begins to look with contempt upon Sarah. And of course, that creates conflict as well, doesn't it? So, because we're human beings at the end of the day. We've all got feelings, and we can't, we're not planks of wood. We've all got feelings, and we can all try and read between the lines. If people say nasty things to us, it affects us all in different ways. Yeah, those people that say, "Oh, I don't care," whatever, usually those sort of people, they really do take it to heart. Yeah. So, conflict and Hagar's flight. So this is in verse 5. So Sarah blames Abraham for the tension, accusing him of failing him to manage the situation, and appealing to God to judge between them. Yeah, so that's right. So he's appealing to God now to judge between the two. So now he's asking God now, and you can imagine what God's going to be like. He's like, what's going on here? So this response ignores her own role in creating the situation and shifts responsibility to her husband. Verse 6. Abraham responds by affirming Sarah's authority over Hagar and gives her permission to do as she sees fit. And Sarah then deals harshly with Hagar, causing the maidservant to flee into the wilderness. And that's what she does. So she flees. And then she meets up with the angel. Now the angel of the Lord. This is in verse 7. The angel of the Lord finds Hagar by a spring in the desert on the way to Shur, a location near the Egyptian border. This marks a significant divine encounter as God shows concern for Hagar, the mistreated slave. And then on verse 8, the angel asks Hagar, "Where have you come from and where are you going?" reminding her of a past and her uncertain future. Hagar responds honestly, stating she's fleeing from her mistress, Sarah. And that's in verse 8. Verse 9, the angel commands Hagar to return Sarah and submit to Sarah's authority. This requires Hagar to humble herself and maybe see error in how she was as well, yeah, because her status was elevated, and to endure her difficult situation, an act of obedience. Verse 10. In a promise that echoes the one given to Abraham, the angel assures Hagar that her descendants will be greatly multiplied, which of course we know that happens. So then God's told her what to do. She's done it, and she was rewarded for it as well. So trust in the Lord. That's what you do. You trust in the Lord. So verse 11, the angel tells Hagar she's pregnant with a son and instructs her to name him Ishmael, which means God hears. The name is a testament to God hearing Hagar's distress. The angel prophesies Ishmael's future. He will be a wild donkey of a man, live in conflict with his relatives, and have a hand against everyone. Ooh. The prophecy foreshadows the ongoing strife between those descendants of Ishmael and Isaac, of those Abrahamic religions, and those problems still happen today, as we know, in the Middle East. It's happening right now. So this is the very, very root of it, believe it or not. So Hagar's praise and Ishmael's verse. This is from verse 13 to 16. So verse 13 talks about how Hagar recognizes the divine nature of her encounter and gives a name to the Lord who spoke to her, the God who sees me. She marvels that she has seen God and yet survived. Because remember, it says in where is it? That you can't see God. Moses says to Moses, and no one can look at me and live. But so he covers them, doesn't he, when they walk past the cleft of the rock? Yes. Okay. So every now and then my mind just wanders. I do apologise. Right. So verse 14. Right, meaning the living one who sees me, commemorating Hagar's experience. And then we go on to verse 15, which talks about Hagar, doesn't she? And then she gives birth to Ishmael. And then his name, it's actually Abraham, by the way, that named him Ishmael as well, which means God hears. And verse 16, the chapter concludes by noting that Abram was 86 years old when Ishmael was born, emphasizing the long wait for a promised heir. Yes. So, how long we've been going? Okay. There we go. Right. Yeah, I think we better go. Oh, we've got 23 minutes. So the Lord be with you, with all of you, even you, Joseph. I've considered the comments that you've written. May the Lord rebuke you until you repent. May he reveal himself to you. It's all good. But yes, Heavenly Father, give us strength to deal with difficult people. Let us tolerate them as best as we can. Yes. Maybe some people, we can all look in the mirror and we all know our own heart, don't we? And the things that we fail in. So yes, Joseph, Grace, I'm sure that you can look in the mirror with those delightful comments that you've made. Yeah. Okay, cool. So God bless all of you that have watched, those that have been kind and nice to me, especially. May the Lord reveal himself to you. Please read the Bible one chapter a day. If you can't make one chapter a day, you read one verse a day. And do an exegesis like this, if you can do. It's all you need to do. That way you can stay spiritually nourished. And it's all good. It all helps you. You can get some wisdom from it. And you can learn, a little bit of trivia, learn a bit of Hebrew along the way. Happy days. Okay, so May the Lord bless you, and we'll see you again soon. It's good to be back.